G'day guys and gal. Lorgar is often the most overlooked Primarch. He was physically the weakest, had the least amount of compliances during the Great Crusade, at least until he got spanked, and his greatest strength, his ability to make others listen to him, was used in direct violation of the Emperor's imperial truth. However, Lorgar was also the first of the Primarchs to fall to chaos, and he was the one that made the decision to kick off the Horus Heresy, so you could argue that he was the most impactful Primarch in the entire setting. Not to mention, his fall to chaos and eventual fate was actually quite tragic, since he was the only traitor who actually believed in the cause and thought it would be good for humanity overall. And it all began with the Pilgrimage of Lorgar. Before we get started, I love to find ways to be the absolute healthiest I can be while putting in the absolute minimum amount of effort. My gym is at home, most of my meals are pre-packaged or are microwavable, and I keep all my vitamins absolutely blasted to the max using today's sponsor AG1. AG1 was a brand I loved as a customer before they reached out to me to work together. It's basically an everything powder, full of all the essential micronutrients you need for optimal health, as well as some of the more niche ones that many of us are deficient in without even realizing. Stuff like zinc or magnesium, which is proven to support healthy testosterone levels, something that is pretty bloody important for living a good life. I personally love it in coconut water, which makes it an even healthier drink, however juice is also nice. You can have it in normal water as well. I probably wouldn't recommend having it in milk or dry scooping it, but hey, I'm not your dad, you do you. Personally, I do feel the difference when I am consistent with AG1, with my doctor remarking I look a lot healthier. I procrastinate less, I have more energy. It's not rocket science. Having optimal micronutrition will manifest itself as you being a physically healthier human being. So to take the easiest step in living a healthier life, then use my link below, which will get you an additional year's supply of vitamin D3K2, as well as 5 free travel packs when you pick up any of the AG1 bundles. Cheers to AG1 for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over the Pilgrimage of Lorgar to determine his motives for falling to chaos and dooming the galaxy to eternal war. The Pilgrimage definitely makes Lorgar shine as a character and highlights the tragedy of his decision. Now let's get into it. Lorgar was obsessed with having a god to worship. That's just how he was. The Emperor was the perfect god for him. Radiant, divine, powerful. Lorgar worshipped him with all his heart, and the Emperor initially tolerated this just like he tolerated Angron's berserk rage and Conrad Curse's sadistic nature. To the Emperor, the crusade was all that mattered, conquering the galaxy extremely quickly. It's unclear why the Emperor was in such a big rush. Maybe he foresaw the arrival of the beast. Maybe he foresaw the Tyranid and Necron threats but didn't know when that would happen. Regardless, speed was paramount. However, Lorgar and his word bearers were conquering worlds extremely slowly. This is because they would arrive, spend months or even years converting the world to the Emperor's worship, and then only when every citizen had divine hard-ons for the Big E would Lorgar move on. Contrast this with the Space Wolves, who would land in drop pods, fuck everyone's dog, and then kill the owners with chain axes within a violent 24-hour period, and you can see which one got the job done faster. Remember, a peacefully compliant world was cool and all, but if it had to be raced to the ground, then there was always a colony fleet ready to move in. As such, the Emperor brought down the Banhammer, confronting Lorgar before psychically kicking his entire legion in the balls whilst ordering Guilliman to destroy Monarchia, the perfect city of worshippers. The Emperor wanted to teach Lorgar a lesson, that gods, if they existed, would be cruel, vicious things not worthy of worship. That the humiliation and pain that the Emperor inflicted was as if he was a god. Lorgar learnt a lesson that day, just not the one the Emperor wanted him to. He still believed that the Emperor was a god, however he no longer believed him worthy of devotion. This put Lorgar into a bit of a religious crisis as he freaked out. However, Erebus and Corferon, two secret chaos worshippers, told Lorgar of a different option, that there were gods worthy of his worship if he knew where to look. Lorgar travelled to Cadia near the Eye of Terror to find a place where mortals and gods meet. After chatting to some heretics, killing a custodian, somehow managing to cover it up without arousing suspicion, and then helping some slut ascend to become a demon prince, Argultal was chosen as the first to travel into the Eye of Terror and see the truth of the universe. The truth was ugly. The demon prince Ingethel was his guide and showed him visions of the fall of the Eldar, explaining that they rejected Slaanesh, thus why their empire was destroyed, and if mankind did the same, they too would suffer the same fate. The demon then showed Argultal various other visions, but they were all designed to manipulate. Sure, a lot of what was shown was true, but the context was wrong to make the Emperor look bad. The visions ended with Argul and his brothers breaching the Emperor's wards and allowing chaos to snap up the Primarchs and scatter them across the galaxy. Argul then lowered the Gellerfield at Ingethel's request, causing he and his brothers to get massacred and then their dead bodies possessed and brought back to life, now hosting demons in a semi-symbiotic relationship. Argul, the surviving battle brothers and the ship then spent months returning to real space, eating the corpses of their brothers and the crew for sustenance. For Lorgar, only seconds had passed. Argyll told Lorgar that the primordial truth was a terrible thing, but it was the truth. Seeing this, Lorgar decided that he needed to see the truth for himself. Thus he travelled with Ingethel into the Eye of Terror. So began the Pilgrimage of Lorgar. The overall experience was similar to Argyll Tal's, however it was a lot more elaborate and convincing, as whilst Argyll just needed to witness, Lorgar had to be convinced. They travelled across time and space via the warp, with Ingethel telling Lorgar of the many potential futures, most of which Lorgar ends up dead. It was revealed that there were many potential futures prior to the heresy where Lorgar would be killed by his brothers. One where his bad temper would result in him stabbing Sanguinius in the back, causing the other Primarchs to execute him, another where he tries to stop a fight between Russ and Magnus, getting killed in the crossfire, another where he tries to duel Corvus and gets annihilated, which actually does happen in the lore, twice. Ingethel also shows Lorgar a crashed craft world, which a wounded avatar of Cain crawls out of. To the avatar's credit, despite not being awoken correctly, being seriously injured and then buried for centuries, he still manages to call Lorgar a fucking bitch and tries to fight him. Literally the Black Knight from Monty Python. Lorgar kills the avatar, more as a mercy than anything else. During the pilgrimage, they even travel to Magnus in the future just after the fall of Prospero, where Magnus sacrificed his left nut to Titsnitch to teleport to safety. Lorgar tries to speak with Magnus, but Magnus thinks it's another trick, since Titsnitch kept fucking with him for a laugh. Hence Magnus tries to kill Lorgar, but Ingethel saves him at the cost of a lot of its life force. Throughout the entire pilgrimage, it's made clear that Lorgar is disgusted. Chaos is gross, Ingethel is a fucking disgusting worm bitch, demons are cringe, but fundamentally there was gods in the universe. The Emperor had lied. Lorgar reasoned that the truth is above all else, no matter how ugly that truth might be. To Lorgar, he had no choice but to betray his father. The Emperor obviously knew the Imperial truth was a lie. However, if he lied long enough to build his Webway project and cut mankind off from the warp's influence, then that lie would become true as the Chaos Gods would fade to obscurity. The pilgrimage wraps up with Khorne having a laugh and throwing one of his greatest bloodthirsters at Lorgar as a test. This actually wasn't supposed to happen. The Chaos Gods had agreed to team up to corrupt Lorgar, and the pilgrimage was supposed to be the test, but Khorne went rogue and tried to kill him for the lols. Lorgar and the bloodthirster fight. It's a vicious battle with Lorgar very nearly dying. However, he's able to overcome the bloodthirster and prove his worth to Khorne. Kairos Fateweaver then appears to Lorgar and tells him that if he goes to Calth and confronts Guilliman directly at the start of the Horus Heresy, he will kill Guilliman, but it would cost the traitors the war. This is because Lorgar being stuck at Calth would mean the Shadow Crusade wouldn't work, hence the Ruin Storm would not be born, hence the Loyalists would all easily reach Terra and then clap the traitors. Hence Kairos told Lorgar to send others to Calth and for him to instead focus on the Shadow Crusade. Lorgar saw a vision of him fighting Guilliman, Lorgar infused with psychic power, Guilliman battered but unbroken. As Lorgar prepares to destroy his brother, Guilliman smiles. Even in death, he would not break to a traitor like Lorgar. With this final message, the pilgrimage ended. Lorgar decided that yes, he would betray the Emperor and initiate the Horus Heresy. Mankind must know the truth at all costs. Lorgar also saw Argyll Tal as the ultimate symbiosis of man and demon, two souls in one body, the whole greater than the sum of its parts. However, there was a fundamental issue here. Sure, Argyll and his demon Rum got along pretty well, with them working well in combat together and even kind of becoming friends as time went on. However, Rum was progressively exerting more and more influence. Argyll was also in near constant pain. The two souls did not comfortably fit into the one body. Eventually, Argyll could no longer remove his helmet, and it seemed as if eventually he would permanently be shaped into the demonic form of Rum. Rum was also vicious. It wasn't this articulate intelligence, it was a beast hungry for blood. So I wouldn't really call this a divine symbiosis of demon and man, more like just one of the less fucked up demonic possessions. Whilst during the pilgrimage Lorgar was called the chosen son and Chaos's most important person, it was all just manipulation. It was like Chaos befriending the ugly chick to get closer to her hot friend. In this case, Horus was the hot friend and Lorgar was the ugly chick. Lorgar had been told what he wanted to hear, but in truth Chaos didn't give a fuck about humanity or creating some kind of union with it. It wanted to use it for fun and then throw it away when it was used up. This is why Slaanesh was happy to have Fulgrim possessed, why Horus was a walking Chaos meat suit by the end, and why almost every single traitor Primarch was turned into a demon against their will. If Chaos actually cared, it would have applied Lorgar's lessons to all of its possessions and actions. Instead, it just presented itself in a very specific way to Lorgar to corrupt him. This is further proven when Lorgar tried to lead a coup against Horus, as he saw that Horus was not interpreting Chaos properly, or at least how Lorgar saw it as proper. He ensnared Fulgrim to his will, had his wordbearers prepare a trap, and was ready to kill Horus. But in truth, the Chaos Gods had not abandoned Horus. They didn't give a fuck about Lorgar and they wanted to see him humiliated, just like how he was humiliated at Monarchia by the Emperor. Horus was forewarned of the trap and beat the shit out of Lorgar instead, banishing him from the heresy and taking thousands of his warriors under his command. Since then, we have barely seen Lorgar, with the main instance of his reappearance being when Corvus manifested as a crow demon and kicked his ass. Since then, he has simply meditated in his tower for 10,000 years, leaving the wordbearers to be ruled by Corferon and Erebus, two men he despises. Sure, he did get the gift of ascension to Demon Prince, however it seemed more like a pity thing, like, good work, you fulfilled your purpose, here's your lollipop, now fuck off. It's unclear why Lorgar has been gone for so long. Maybe he's lamenting his decision to start the heresy now that he knows more about the brutal, uncaring nature of chaos. Or more likely, he is hiding from Corvus Corax. The Pilgrimage was a dope piece of lore. It's just a shame that it was one of the many times Lorgar was completely and utterly manipulated and then treated like dog shit afterwards. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be, where there is not only a boatload of Battle Mace 40 million hentai, but also a bunch of live action nude cosplays. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the real subscribe button for more heretical content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.